Hello everyone, it's Tuesday, it is 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and that means it's time for another episode of First Chapter Fun. I'm just going to move my... Oops, that's not going to work. There we go. That's a little bit better. My gosh, got a new gooseneck thing to hold my phone next to the webcam. So I've got my webcam going for Facebook and I've got my iPhone going for Instagram. It's all fun and games. So I see lots of comments on Instagram already. I see Robin, I see Zoe, I see Diane, I see Catlaw, I see Nadine. Hi Nadine, so thrilled you're here. I see Jen Jumba and I see Hank. And of course, Facebook comments? No. So let me just, get rid of the text stuff. Talk among yourselves for a second. I'm just going to try and call up a new window on Facebook. Isn't this always fun? Sometimes Facebook lets us see the videos, and sometimes the videos, good Lord, the comments, and sometimes it doesn't. But I see I'm live, so I'm just going to turn the volume down on that because we don't need to hear myself in stereo, do we? No, we don't. And there we go. On Facebook, I now see all of the comments and my goofy face freeze framed. So that's always fun. But anyway, we're here. It's Tuesday. It's 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And that means it's time for another episode of First Chapter Fun. This is episode 140. And as we like to say, if this is the first time you've caught an episode of First Chapter Fun, where have you been? This has been going on for almost a year now. And next week, I have to tell you, we have a very special celebration going on First Chapter Fun on Facebook. We will be, Hank and I, let me backtrack. My name's Hannah Mary McKinnon, and First Chapter Fun is a creation of my and Hank Philippi Ryan's imagination, I guess. Twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, we read the first chapter of a book right here on Instagram, on my phone, and on Facebook Live. So at First Chapter Fun on Facebook group, and at First Chapter Fun on Instagram. So on Wednesday, March 17th, will mark the first anniversary of First Chapter Fun starting. So make sure, we can't do this on Instagram as well. We will do a Facebook Live and an Instagram Live at 7 p.m. Eastern, Hank and I together. But there is a big giveaway going on all day. Lots of authors. We've invited all of the authors for whom we read during the year to come and do a giveaway on the 17th of March. Books and swag and whatever it is that they feel like giving away that day. So you can join in on the fun. Make sure you request to be a member of the group at First Chapter Fun on Facebook, and then all you'll have to do is basically comment on all of the posts, and there will be a ton of them. So you'll be in for a chance to read. It'll be fun. It'll be lots of fun. So that's going on Wednesday. But today we have a really cool book. I'm so excited to be reading this book for you by Nadine Matheson called The Jigsaw Man. So stick around for this one if you dare. Dun dun dun, because it's a thriller. It's a police procedural. It's a thriller. It's very suspenseful and it's very creepy, and I'm losing my voice. So how has everyone been this week? I hope you've all been fine. It's a bright sunny day outside, as you can see from the glowing background behind my head. Not that I'm complaining, and it's absolutely wonderful. The temperatures are going up. The snow here in Ontario, close to Toronto, is pretty well gone on the ground. But I know we're in for another walloping, because that's how it works. Spring lulls us into a false sense of security, and then we get smacked around the head with a snowstorm or three. That's just how it works. So how have you been? How's your week been? How are things going? I hope everyone's fine. I see Robin. Jen says, I will sleep with the lights on. Rita, yes, with the Jigsaw Man, probably a good idea. And on Facebook, I see lots and lots of people joining and commenting. So that's absolutely wonderful. I'm so pleased. It's such a fun thing, First Chapter Fun, to see the community growing and to see the post reaching more and more people. It truly, truly is wonderful. And it's our little, Hank and my little bubble, twice weekly bubble of just pure bliss and fun to meet with you all and to see you and to have people, more and more people joining. So be sure to tell your friends, your family, your pets, your neighbours, whomever, about First Chapter Fun, because there's always stuff going on. There's always little videos and author fun facts and fun facts about the books, aside from the twice weekly readings every Tuesday and Thursday at 12:30 p.m. So shall we get to it? Yes, let's. Let me tell you about today's book. Look at that cover. That's a cool cover. This is the North American cover of The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. Now, I had the real pleasure of discovering this book because we share publishers and publicists. Nadine and I have the same publicists. Massive shout out to Leah and Roxanne, who are just brilliant. And Nadine, her book came to me via her publicist, or our publicist. And Leah said, do you fancy, and then she said, gave me a quick blurb, and I think she already had me in the first two words. I said, yes, send it, let me read it, I want to read it. And it is amazing. I hadn't seen the cover at that point. This was back in October, I think, or maybe even earlier, and it is spectacular. It is creepy. It's set in London and it's brilliant. The Jigsaw Man, what do you reckon that is? Let me tell you a little bit about Nadine and her book. Now, Nadine is watching. I know she's watching on Instagram. It's such a thrill to have you watching, Nadine. I'm glad with the time difference, you're 5 hours ahead of us, that it always works out when we read at 12:30. That's really cool. So with Nadine watching, you can ask her anything on Instagram. Remember, the comments disappear when we move it from our live to IGTV. Don't know why, it just does. But on Facebook, you can leave them, just leave a comment, because Nadine is a member of First Chapter Fun. So you can leave a question or a comment there, tag her in it as well, so that she gets to see it and can answer you at her leisure. And we have a giveaway for the Jigsaw Man going on. So make sure that you leave a comment during the live reading of Jigsaw Man. Ooh, it's spooky. I don't mean ghost spooky, I mean thriller spooky. It's not spooky, there's a ghost behind you, look out. No. There's a murderer behind you, look out, because he's going to chop you up. So, yeah, this is the kind of book that we're reading today, and it is brilliant. I love it. So, let me tell you about Nadine, and be sure to leave a comment for her, and she will choose a winner for today's giveaway. So, this is Nadine Matheson, who has always been passionate about writing and storytelling. She was born and lives in London in the UK and is a criminal solicitor. In 2016, she won the City University Crime Writing Competition and completed the Creative Writing, that's in crime thriller novels, MA, at City University of London with distinction 2 years later in 2018. Her crime novel, The Jigsaw Man, was published in the UK, also Australia and New Zealand, I believe, by HQ, just back in February on the 18th, and is set to release by Hanover Square Press in North America on March 16th. So, big week for Nadine next week. Make sure you get your pre-orders in, because unless you're in the UK, Australia or New Zealand, you can't get this yet. You can if you leave a comment and win the giveaway, and you can also pre-order it, and I highly recommend that you do. If thrillers are up your street, trust me, you will like this one. So a huge thank you to publisher, my publisher, HarperCollins, imprint Hanover Square Press, and also of course to Nadine for allowing us to read, because without their permission, the publishers and the authors like Nadine, Hank and I wouldn't be able to do this. So we're always very, very grateful. And if nobody showed up for the readings, we wouldn't do it either. So thank you, all of you, for watching. Tracy Clark, I love Tracy. Tracy, you are so cool, and I'm so pleased that we're going to be reading for you again in November for Runner, your new release. She says, how creepy. A little creepy is good. A lot of creepy is yikes. It's yeah, I mean, let me read you the blurb, and you can choose, or you can decide for yourself. So this is the back cover copy of The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. A serial killer and his copycat are locked in a violent game of cat and mouse. Can DI Angelica Henley stop them before it's too late? On the day she returns to active duty with the Serial Crimes Unit, Detective Inspector Angelica Henley is called to a crime scene. Dismembered body parts from 2 victims have been found by the river. The modus operandi bears a striking resemblance to Peter Olivier, the notorious jigsaw killer, who has spent the past 2 years behind bars. When he learns that someone is co-opting his grisly signature, the arrangement of victims' limbs in puzzle piece shapes, he decides to take matters into his own hands. As the body count rises, DI Angelica Henley is faced with an unspeakable new threat. Can she apprehend the copycat killer before Olivier finds a way to get to him first? Or will she herself become the next victim? Drawing on her experience as a criminal attorney, debut novelist Nadine Matheson delivers the page-turning crime novel of the year, taut, vivid, and addictively sinister. The Jigsaw Man will leave you breathless until the very last page. Copy that. That is absolutely true. Now, you will find Nadine, I'm going to put my glasses on again, I can't read what I've written. You will find Nadine on Facebook as Nadine Matheson Books. On Instagram, she is Queen Nads. On Twitter, Nadine Matheson. And her author website is NadineMatheson.com. Now, one of the things I really, really liked about this book was D.I. Angelica Henley, the protagonist. So she works really hard. She has a child and a husband, but she is struggling with the work-life balance because she gets so involved in her cases and she's exceedingly busy. And there's some tension between her and her husband, and there are also issues with her father who has problems. And I found that so realistic and so relatable. And I wrote a piece about that last week, funnily enough, about how I came to writing and how before I was the CEO of an IT recruitment company, which was what I always wanted to do and be the big cheese and have the big gig career, and then only find that I had zero time and zero work-life balance. It was all work, nothing else outside. So I could really, really relate with D.I. Angelica Henley. I thought she was so interesting and expertly drawn. I wonder, Nadine, if you went through the same, or still are perhaps. It's hard when you have a career and kids and trying to find that balance. So even if you have a massive career and a partner, it can be very, very difficult. So that was brilliantly done. It really added another layer. So this is The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. Today's read. I see lots of comments. Carol says, I've been waiting for this. And Catlaw says, I'm already freaked out. Yeah, you should be. And Nadine says, thank you for pre-ordering. And I love that you use the little emoji of a jigsaw puzzle piece, Nadine. That is brilliant. Diane says, I love the cover. Isn't it spectacular? You just know it's going to be sinister, don't you? It's really, really cool. So let me treat you to the first pages. Well, actually the first chapter. There is a prologue, but I decided to read the first chapter instead to give you a good sense of Angelica and who she is and what she's going through and what she's going to be up against throughout the course of this book. And will she make it out alive? I'm not telling you. You're going to have to read the book and find out for yourself. So here we go. This is chapter 1 of The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. The important thing was to stay calm, not to let him see that he was getting to her again. "Rob, I don't have time for this. I'm going to be late for work," Henley said, grabbing her car keys from the side table. "That's the problem. You never..." The sound of the front door slamming shut drowned out the rest of his words, but she knew what they were. "You never have time. Your work always comes first." Detective Inspector Angelica Henley looked back at the mid-terraced house with the freshly painted blue door. She wondered, not for the first time, what it said about her that she was happier dealing with rapists and murderers than her own husband. She checked her reflection in the rearview mirror. She had rushed out too quickly and hadn't had a chance to cover up the small scar on her right cheek and the dark circles under her eyes. Henley's phone cut off the latest road traffic reports from BBC London, and Stephen Pelletier calling flashed across the screen. "Where are you?" he said, by way of greeting. "Good morning to you too. I'm on Deptford Broadway. I'll be about 10 minutes, said Henley. "Don't come in. I need you to make a detour, the bottom end of Watergate Street." "Watergate Street? What for?" "We've got a case. A bunch of body parts have been found scattered around the area. Too early to say if they belong to the same victim or if it's more than one. Ramuta's already en route. He'll meet you there." Henley slammed the brakes as a moped cut in front of her. The tension returned, as quick as a click, twisting through her body. "What do you mean you're sending Ramuta?" She tried, but failed to stop the anger from coating her words. "What makes you think I..." Pelletier ignored her. "I'm emailing the CAD details to you." Henley smashed her hand against the steering wheel. The last thing she needed was an over-enthusiastic and inexperienced detective snapping at her heels. Watergate Street, just off the gridlocked Creek Road, was usually quiet, but now at 7:40 a.m, front doors were open and the residents clustered outside, wondering why a stream of police cars had assembled on their road. The looming branches of the cherry trees created a canopy over the street, casting an eerie twilight darkness despite the beating sun. Henley parked her car opposite the Admiral pub, just a few metres from the police cordon where a small crowd was gathered. Trainee Detective Constable Salim Ramuta was standing on the other side of the tape, a short distance from the crowd. He was dressed in a navy suit, white shirt and tie, and Henley could see the shine bouncing off his black shoes. He was new to the team, though not new to the force, and he still looked fresh and untouched by the reality that would soon come with being a detective on the streets of London. Pelletier had told her that Detective Sergeant Paul Stanford would be responsible for Ramuta, that he would be the one showing him the ropes, not her. Henley had been updating the information on the crime reporting information system known as a CRIS report for another case when Pelletier made the introductions. Ramuta seemed taller than she had remembered, almost 6 feet. He had a beard which Henley thought he'd probably grown in order to hide his youth. Ramuta folded and unfolded his arms before settling on clasping his hands behind his back. She didn't like how eager and unprepared he looked. Not that she was looking that authoritative. She was dressed in jeans, trainers, a Wonder Woman t-shirt, and a blazer that had lain on the back seat of her car for a week. More suited to sitting in an office and not acting as the senior investigating officer on an active crime scene. "Good morning, Inspector." Ramuta held out his hand. Henley ignored it. "Where's DS Stanford?" Henley held up her warrant card to the uniformed police officer who lifted the tape. I'm not sure, but I was only told to meet you here and to tell you that DC Eastwood is on her way to the Greenwich scene with uniform and forensics," Ramuta replied, pulling back his hand and following Henley. They paused briefly outside 15 Nelson Mews. A couple of crime scene investigators wearing blue oversuits were crouched on the ground retrieving evidence. A third stood taking photographs of the driveway. "You do realise where we're going, right?" Henley asked as Ramuta put his hand on the gate. We're going to speak to Mr. Mattei, aren't we?" "Yes, and when we're done, I suggest that you ask one of the CSIs for some overshoes when we get to the steps." It was a short distance from 15 Nelson Mews to the Watergate steps, where the road narrowed down to a cobblestoned alley. They walked alongside a community park. An older woman and a Chinese girl were standing to the side talking to a policeman. "That's Heather Rosicki," said Ramuta. "She found that I know what she found." As they made their way down the alley, the smell of the river grew stronger, a mixture of stagnant drain water mixed with engine oil. Henley could hear the water breaking against the pebbled riverbank. A large terrace bordered Borthwick Wharf, converted from a meat processing and cold storage facility into a mixture of riverside apartments and commercial space. Anthony Thomas, a senior crime scene investigator, appeared at the top of the terrace, pulling on a pair of purple latex gloves. Henley wouldn't trust anyone else to protect a crime scene. He was fastidious, but most importantly, he was loyal. Henley hadn't worked with Anthony at a live crime scene for 2 years. A memory escaped one of the boxes in her mind, a hazy image of Anthony guiding her into a room to stand on a large plastic sheet, the goosebumps on her skin as the air conditioning covered her in an icy chill, not quite hearing the words that came out of Anthony's mouth as he scraped under her fingernails and combed through her hair, waiting for the evidence to fall at her feet. She felt exposed as the doctor examined her and recorded her cuts and bruises on a body map. The realization that she was the crime. It hit her in the gut with more fire than when the knife had pierced her stomach. They had trained her to be a detective, not a victim. "I weren't expecting to see you out and about," said Anthony. "Are you coming down to have a look then?" "Looks that way," Henley said. She was grateful that Anthony had made more of a fuss than this hadn't made more of a fuss, that this was the first time he'd seen her in the field in 2 years. "Great. It'll be like old times." Anthony pulled several pairs of blue overshoes out of a box by his feet and handed them to Henley. "Who's your friend?" Henley made the introductions. "Ah, a newbie. I've got one too." Anthony pointed to a young man who was standing stock still behind him, holding a camera. He'd already zipped his blue oversuit up to his neck. His eyes darted anxiously from Henley to Anthony. "Fun, isn't it?" Anthony said with a heavy sigh. "I'll see you down there." "Come on," Henley said to Ramuta. "Let's see what we're dealing with." Henley looked down at the tattooed torso, which was at least 5 feet from the muddy waters of the Thames. The torso had been severed at the neck and through the thigh bones. Droplets of water glistened off the white skin. It had clearly been propped up between the moss-covered steps and the rotting, broken wood that was once part of the pier. The only thing that Henley could be certain about was that a white male with a fondness for manga anime tattoos had had his legs cut off at the thigh bone, his arms at the biceps. The cuts were not clean and surgical like the severed body parts that Henley had seen a few years ago. She had been frozen to the spot the first time she'd seen the separated arms, legs, head and torso dumped under a railway arch in Lewisham. She had learned to harden herself since then. Her calves tightened as she squatted down. The head had been cut off just above the Adam's apple. Small hunks of bone were embedded in the ridged windpipe that jutted out among shredded muscle and clotted blood. Yellowing fat and connective tissue had the look of raw jointed chicken that had been left out in the air for too long. Henley stood up and breathed in deeply. The wind carried the briny, rotten scent of the river. She couldn't find the compartments in her brain that she used to separate the logical and hardened detective from the damaged and not quite healed woman that was standing at the water's edge. She stepped away and made her way back up to the Watergate steps. She tried to shake off the sharp prickles of anxiety, but she couldn't get rid of the feeling that the torso had been staged for her. Oh. Yes, yes indeed. It is creepy, and it is The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson, and it is a book that needs to be on your radar. It is dark, it is disturbing, it is the ultimate thriller, and I loved it. And it is creepy, but it's brilliant. Lots and lots of comments I see. Yes, Nadine says, can be very hard to balance everything. Hey, fun fact, Nadine, my husband's name is Rob, which made me laugh even more when I read it. And Jennifer says, I'm working on a jigsaw puzzle now and freaked out all over again. Yeah, we have a jigsaw puzzle that I've been working on, but haven't done anything with it for weeks now, and I'm not sure I need to. And Nadine says, and that's something I did write down, I think, or maybe I didn't, that it has been optioned for TV. So congratulations, Nadine. That is really, really exciting. And did you know that we always post fun facts on Fridays? So I have a fun fact. I'm going to share this one with you. And normally we share them on Friday, but this one is so cool. Not that the others aren't, but I'm going to read this one to you. So Nadine's fun author fact is, well, there are two. Every location where the victims are found in the book are real. Number one, you could go on the Jigsaw Man tour of London. That would be really cool, especially once COVID, takes a hike and goes away. And also, she says, I'm an avid comic book collector, and I appeared as an extra in an Idris Elba movie. How cool is that? Fun fact, side fact, when I was about 13, they were shooting a movie in Interlaken where I grew up. And I was an extra too. And what I had to do at 13, maybe I was 15, I don't know. Anyway, I was in a bar, as you do at 15. It was the 80s, nobody cared. And I had to dance. So I'm dancing to, I think it was Madonna's Into the Groove or something. I don't know, that's about the time frame. So there we are dancing with a friend of mine, we're dancing. And then that was our scene. And the movie came out, and of course everybody from Interlaken piled into the movie theatre to go and see this movie because so many of us were in it as extras. And so my scene comes up and I'm dancing, and they changed the track and it was a slow song. So I was the idiot in the corner dancing to Madonna's Into the Groove, really getting into it, and they'd overlaid that with a slow song. So yeah, that was fun. Anyway, that's I think Nadine's fun fact is much better than mine because mine was hugely embarrassing. The Jigsaw Man. The things you learn on First Chapter Fun, eh? Who would have known? The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson, optioned for TV, already out in Australia, UK, New Zealand, and any other countries, Nadine? And also as of March 16th in North America. Get your hands on it now. Well, in your pre-orders now if you're in North America. There's something apparently going on with the background with my curtains. What's going on with my curtains? Oh, it's when I hold up my hand. It changes the... That's weird. Anyway, it's the sun. I should change my desk around, but I'm not gonna. It's too much work. I see lots of... Katie says, I like your fun facts. Irina says, you were totally into the groove. Yeah, I was. Diane says, I had this book on my list and now I know for sure I need it. Yes, yes, you do. You absolutely do. So let me show you that cover again to make sure that this one is on your radar because it's going to be brilliant. Well, it is brilliant. It's not going to be. There's no doubt about it. So that was today's episode of First Chapter Fun. Make sure if you have just joined that you just still sneak in there with a comment, because we have a giveaway going on of a copy of The Jigsaw Man. Thank you so much, Nadine, for letting us read for you. It's absolutely, I'm so just chuffed to bits that I've got to do this for you. Now we have still a thriller, but a different setting. So we are taking you to Alaska on Thursday. This is The Ancestor by Lee Matthew Goldberg. This is what we're going to be reading from on Thursday. Really interesting one, because gentleman wakes up in Alaska and he thinks it's over 100 years ago. What now? Exactly. So you're going to have to tune in on Thursday to find out why the man who wakes up in Alaska thinks that he's basically been frozen in ice for a long time, over 100 years. Now, where did he come from? That is what we will be reading from on Thursday, The Ancestor by Lee Matthew Goldberg. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode of First Chapter Fun. Oh, Rose says, I read The Ancestor. It's creepy. Ooh, that's amazing. So we already have an endorsement there going on. So let me show you today's cover again, The Jigsaw Man. Pop in and leave some comments on Facebook for Nadine, you know, the inspiration for this one. Come on, we need to know where that came from, and real locations. That's kind of fun. Did you map them out? Did you have the locations before the story? How did that work? I'm really curious about that one too. So make sure you leave some comments and questions for Nadine on Facebook, because you know on Instagram they're going to disappear once we move this to live. And on Thursday we will bring you The Ancestor by Lee Matthew Goldberg. So brilliant week again, as always. So we will see you again on Thursday, as we do every Tuesday and Thursday. And please, please do not forget our big giveaway party. We will remind you, don't you worry, on Wednesday, March 17th, to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of First Chapter Fun started, brackets, thanks COVID. But it's one of the good things to come out of the pandemic. So we hope to see you on Thursday, and of course next week again. And until then, as always, please say it with me, stay safe, stay kind, and we will see you on Thursday. Thank you for watching.